Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Locrine and we get to hear from Brutus again today in Act 1, Scene 2. Now, if you remember, Brutus at the beginning of the scene was brought in on a chair and he gave this really long monologue about how he's about to die, but he needs to settle a couple of things first. And then we got to hear sort of 3 recountings of all of these various battles that he fought. But what he was actually really concerned with was sort of his legacy. So he reached out to his son, Locrine, his eldest son, and he was like, come here, I want you to marry Gwendolen as long as that's okay with her dad and with Gwendolen, and they both agreed that that was fine. And then Brutus gave Locrine the crown, saying, I want you to lead as well as I did, sort of take up the torch and be a strong leader the same as I was. And Locrine understands sort of the gravity of the situation. He's like, of course I will. But then Brutus changes his attention to his other children. He starts with Camber, and Camber's like, yeah, what you got for me? And Brutus says, the glory of mine age, and darling of thy mother, Juniper. Take thou the south for thy dominion. From thee there shall proceed a royal race that shall maintain the honor of this land, that sway the regal scepter with their hands. And Albanact, thy father's only joy, youngest in years, but not the youngest in mind, a perfect pattern of all chivalry, take thou the north for thy dominion, a country full of hills and ragged rocks, replenished with fierce, untamed beasts, as correspondent to thy martial thoughts. Live long, my sons, with endless happiness, and bear firm concordance among yourselves. Obey the counsels of these fathers grave, that you may better bear out violence. But suddenly, through weakness of my age, and the defect of youthful puissance, my malady increaseth more and more, and cruel death hasteneth his quickened pace to dispossess me of my earthly shape. Mine eyes wax dim, o'ercast with clouds of age. The pangs of death compass my crazed bones. Thus to you all my blessings I bequeath, and with my blessings this my fleeting soul. My glass is run, and all my miseries do end with life. Death closeth up mine eyes, my soul in haste flies to the Elysian fields. And then he dies. So he has a very long monologue right before he dies, sort of doing his last bequeathals. Camber is his next eldest son, and he gives him the south of what is now considered England. And to his youngest son, Albanact, he gives the north. So now each of his kids have something. Locrine is supposed to fill his shoes. He's supposed to be king, but then he split the rest of his kingdom in between the 3 boys, or in between the 2 other boys. So they each have a something, and he's like, now, live long and live happily, all of you, and be good to each other. So that you can weather sort of whatever storms come. And then sort of the last third of this is him talking about how he's feeling that his body is literally shutting down right now. He's like, my eyes are waxing dim, and I'm feeling sicker and sicker, and so therefore with that I give all of you my blessings, and my miseries are going to go with me when I die, or at least they're going to end when I die, so now it is time for me to go, and my soul will fly off. And then he dies. In the stage directions, it just says he dies. So Locrine says some lovely things about him, sad that my father has passed. He was this wonderful, great soldier, a really inspiring man. And then we're going to get to hear from Brutus's brother in tomorrow's monologue as he continues to eulogize Brutus, who has now passed. I mean, this man who had all these massive monologues, and we're not even out of like the first actual scene of the play yet. He comes in to make his bequeathments and then dies, which might be why some people feel like there's ties between this and King Lear, the sort of splitting up the country into 3 potential bits or amongst 3 children. But yeah, that kicks off, except Lear doesn't die at the beginning of that one, not until much later. So anyway, that's it for Brutus in Locrine, and we will get to hear from his brother in tomorrow's monologue. So I will see you then. Mwah.